Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand Fans Forum. It is all square over in San Sebastian and it is all to play for at Old Trafford. The return fixture this time next week. We will be kicking off this time next week. It will be 14 minutes into the game. Can Manchester United do it? Was it a good result tonight? How was the performance? We're here to break it all down with Mordzs, Kev and Jordan. I mean, Jordan, firstly, I'll come to you. It's not a loss. I think a lot of fans would have taken a draw tonight, as sad as it's got. This is where we've come to as Manchester United fans. It is all to play for at Old Trafford. Overall, though, do you have that slight feeling that Manchester United should have seen the fixture off today?
I think it's one of those with Europe that you don't want to lose away from home and you try and win it at home. I said 1-1 before. I didn't see us really having more than one goal in us. I am slightly disappointed that after we got the first goal, we didn't try and push on and look for a second and almost sat back and allowed them to come onto us. Terrible penalty for us to concede. Referee just really wasn't on our side. But again, I'm going to try and take a sprinkle of Kev's positivity. And we haven't lost. It's all to play for. And we bring them back to the fortress that is Old Trafford next Thursday. And hopefully we can put the tie to bed.
Welcome aboard the positivity train. Jordan's on it.
I mean, Kev, how do you feel about it? Because last time we were on the forum, you did predict a loss for the first time ever. You didn't. It wasn't a loss.
I've got to keep doing that now till the end of the season.
It was a draw. But let's be absolutely real, right?
Yeah.
It was a keeper blunder and then a penalty that was kind of dodgy, and it's 50-50 whether it should have been. European, we know, when it's European refereeing, we know how strict they are on the handball rule. I mean, soon we'll be jumping in football like this, like a stick man, just not putting your hands up at all. Absolutely. I mean, I actually Googled how to jump, and if you actually look, you are supposed to use your hands to get yourself up there, but in football you can't do that. But all in all, Manchester United, were you more pleased with our attacking play, or did it leave you frustrated again?
It left me frustrated before the game. I think any one of us, if you'd have said 1-1, you'd have gone, I'll take that every day of the week. But on reflection, obviously on the fan forum, you have to look at the game and sort of dissect it as it was. It's a missed opportunity. I think on another night, especially in the final third, it would drive you absolutely insane, the amount of, you know, we get into good areas and just not choosing, you know, the right sort of pass in that moment. You know, Dallo, sorry, Beth, are you going to say?
I'm just saying, apparently your mic's a bit dodgy, Kev, if you know how to wiggle it or something.
Is that all right?
Are we all good? The wire. I'll go to Mordzs and I'll come back to you. Right. But Mordzs, I mean, let's get started. Kev was talking about there how decision making did cost us. I mean, Garnacho eventually got it right with that pass into Xerxes, and obviously the keeper did us a favour. He probably should have got down quicker, but ended up being a goal for Xerxes. But there was multiple other occasions. I mean, you saw Dallo in the first half, how he's not crossing to Højlund there, and then you see the opposite with Real Sociedad in like the last 10 minutes of the game, and he whips a really nice cross straight in there. Dallo got crucified for that decision making there. I mean, you see other occasions where Garnacho was putting it into the side netting where he probably should be putting it across goal. You know, sometimes Dorgu might be able to put the first time left-footed cross in, and it's just like, is it just Manchester United making the correct decisions in the final third a lot of the time?
Yeah, 100%. And this is why a lot of people get really frustrated when the negativity gets onto Amorim, to the players, because yes, you can always, I think it's the easy option to always look at the manager, because every single decision on the pitch can be brought down to the manager. But why did he pick this player? Or why did he choose this system? Or why did he do that? But in reality, the manager can only set up the team until the point where they walk onto the pitch. As soon as those 11 players walk onto the pitch, it is now just down to them. Every decision that the manager's made, every training session, every tactical session that he's done, as soon as they walk onto the pitch, it's down to those 11 players. And like you said, we had multiple chances today to score multiple goals. I mean, like you said, the Dallo chance, Garnacho had a few shots. But at the end of the day, every single one of those chances kind of led to nothing because the players on the pitch didn't make the right decision. And that's really, like I said, it's just where, it's what it always comes down to.
I mean, Jordan, there's a lot of talk about Ruben Amorim and his system and whether he needs to change his system.
Yeah.
More from the media, to be honest, creating stories than the actual fan base. But do you think he coached a win today? Do you think, as a manager, there's any more he could have really done? But is it like what Mordzs said about just the quality of the players on the pitch?
It's the quality of the players to make better decisions. I mean, Dalot, how he hasn't made that pass, but more importantly, how has Højlund not absolutely hammered him for not making that pass once he made the right run. Garnacho, some of his shooting wasn't the best. I think he hit the side net more than he made successful passes today. He eventually got it right, but you want to be more clinical in games, and there are moments in that final third where if the decision making was right, we would have put this game to bed today. Even as fewer opportunities that we had, if the decision was making right, we could have scored enough goals today that we'd be sat here 3-1 up and be cruising into next week. But for me, it's a continuation of what we've seen pretty much all season. The decision making lets us down, especially in the final third. I
mean, Majra Wawiwa's in with the super chat. Mic problem or not, don't you dare interrupt my love again. I mean, Kev, we'll come back to you because obviously you did have that little mic issue. But overall, like looking at the team, what were your thoughts on in front of goal? Is it something that worries you for the rest of the season? Because we do have to take this back to Old Trafford and we have to back ourselves to score in the return leg. If not, it could go to extra time, penalties again. I mean, do you back Manchester United? Do you feel like there's goals coming, like Ruben Amorim said, or do you just not feel like there's enough attacking quality? Specifically Højlund as well, because he was getting a lot of stick and today he seemed a bit more lively, but is it just... Are you just clutching at straws, really?
It depends if you're glass half full kind of person, which I am. Jordan's the total opposite. He's glass half empty. I've been trying to battle with him here and say, let's take a bit of positivity out of this. As I was saying before the gremlins in the system kicked in, I do see it as a good draw. Again, you can look at on reflection and look at it and think, I do think it's a missed opportunity in a way, because I think on another evening we could have, if we'd have chose the right opportunities, like it sounds like an echo chamber, but it's clear to see, isn't it, how many times the moves broke down, people not choosing the right pass. And this has been a running theme at Manchester United, where you look and you think, well, what is it in the final third? This doesn't come from the coach. I can't believe for a minute that these players are getting into really, really good positions and deciding to commit basic errors of football. You mentioned the Dalot one. Dalot was well off it today. Again, I don't want to be too negative, but you're talking about the final third. It just kept breaking down.
Do you think it's as simple as the fact that United just don't have footballers with enough football intelligence in the team?
It does come down.
Like Dalot's a big one, because, I mean, for me, I think physically he's an athlete. I think, whenever I see him, when he's got time on the ball, technically he can be good. Like, his first touch is good. Like, on penalties, he's always really good. But when he's given time to think, his decision-making is absolutely woeful. His football intelligence and his decision-making kills him every time. And it's like, how much can you keep saying, but he's got potential, but he's got potential, but he's got potential? Can you really teach football intelligence and football and IQ? Like, can you do that? Like, today Garnacho got that pass right to Xerxes, but 9 times out of 10 it's wrong. And it's like, can you teach that side of the game? Because these players have attributes, but where actually is the end product? Where actually is, that final decision where I think the best players...
In the key moments,
they
make the right decisions. They really do.
Are we still talking about Dalot right now?
We're talking about the whole team, but I'm making an example.
Okay. Because I'm just saying Dalot, you can't talk about potential with Dalot, in my opinion. But
surely
this is what Dalot is. He's not Garnacho's age.
Under Eric Ten Hag, he was the most improved player. Under Eric Ten Hag, and now under Amorim, he's gone backwards.
In my opinion, Dalot under Ten Hag was just our most consistent, but we weren't good though. Like, it wasn't a case of like he was playing a level above everybody else. He was just playing at a decent level for the longest amount of time, whereas everybody else was just up and down for that season.
He was last season's player of the season, though, wasn't he?
Based on consistency, though. In my opinion, it wasn't based on like he was playing at a world-class standard.
I think it's because he suited that system on this one.
Yeah, but
it has to do a different role now.
The thing is with players, every player has strengths, every player has weaknesses. Ten Hag's system highlighted Dalot's strengths and covered up his weaknesses. This system, I think, highlights his weaknesses and covers up his strengths. I think it's as simple as that, honestly. I think when he was inverted into the midfield in Ten Hag's system, he's good technically on the ball. He's good at driving into space. We know that. Where he's not good is when he's asked to deliver that final ball in the final third, when he has to make decisions on the ball. But under Eric Ten Hag, he was the guy that was driving out from the back. He's not doing that. He's already higher up the pitch, well, he's supposed to be, because the centre-backs drive the ball up the pitch, and then he gets the ball on the wing, and his interchanging play with our 10 isn't good enough, and his decision making in the final third of getting the cross into the box isn't good enough, and I don't know if it'll ever come. And Jordan, that leads me on to, will he ever be successful in Amorim's system? Because it's getting to summer now, we've got to have these conversations, and Dalot, if you sold him, would count as pure profit now because he's been at the club for so long. Should United cash in on him?
100%, I'd sell him. I think the wing backs are so fundamental to this system. They've got to understand their role and have the ability to be up and down and be effective at both ends of the pitch. And that's never going to be Dalot. And I agree with Mordzs. He's at an age where it's now or never. He either got it or he hasn't got it to play the system. But the good thing is that in Europe, he does have value. And there are teams that have been linked to him in the past.
Real Madrid was
Real Madrid was sniffing around him. Yes, there's been some big teams that have been sniffing around him. You know, Mourinho's a massive fan of him, so wherever he is at the time, you know, there are teams and managers who highly rate him for a specific system. Unfortunately, it just isn't this system. And game in, game out, we continue to play him, and he continues to have stinkers. And it's sad because I actually like him, and I think he's given his all for us at times. But if you ain't got it, you ain't got it. And he's a player I look at and I just think, do you know what? It's so fundamental, the wing backs. He's someone who has to go.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing with Dalot as well, and it's not just Dalot, by the way, because see, with the formation and the system that we're playing, because it's so different to what most teams play, the players that we have are at the biggest disadvantage because they all have to adapt. Like nearly every single player has to kind of change the game to fit into the system because most other teams play a 4-3-3 and you can kind of get away with adapting into a 4-3-3 in any position. Like our fullbacks can easily just play fullback, centre backs can play centre back, the midfielders can play in a 3 or whichever one of the 3 positions in the midfield, whether it's a 6, 8 or a 10. The wingers can play the winger, striker can play the striker, whereas the formation now is so different. If you can't adapt, there's no point in you being in this team. There's actually no point because you're not going to be able to be successful and be a consistent player at a high level if you can't adapt to this new system. So it's not just Dalot. There's about 3 or 4, maybe even 5, 6 other players who haven't really fully adapted to this system. And it's unfortunate because it's different. But end of the day, you can't really do anything. You can't really complain because that's what Amorim's come in to do. So you're going to have to go.
His role's totally changed, hasn't it, now? Because
it's unfortunate.
It's all right being a right or a left back, but like you say now, as a modern day wing back, and this is where like Wan-Bissaka fell down at United, we always said defensively sound in that final third, not getting the crosses in. You look at somebody like Dorgu now who comes in, young lad, looks physically fit, can get up and down, even in the 90th minute, still look like if we had extra time, you know, it wouldn't faze him, he'd be able to get up and down. But we all knew this when Amorim come in. You know, there's players in this system or where you look and go, well, what's going to happen to him? Anthony for one, Rashford, you know, big name, but again, you know, he's not going to be a striker, he's not going to be a winger because we're not playing with that width. Can he become a number 10? It's not happened, and what you're seeing is this manager is being very stubborn, sticking to his true values, but at the same time he's saying, right, see you later, I'll show you the door, I'll get somebody in. You know, the number 10s are going to be so pivotal in this team. Again, I'm sure we'll get onto Garnacho, but that's another question mark, a massive question mark as to whether he can play this role at United.
It's my next topic. We've got to bring some super chats in. Callum Jones says the way Onana walked past Masraoui at the end to pick up the other player, shameless. I didn't see that one. What was that about? Tom Grant says, evening fam, who's your captain? I love Bruno, but his decision/attitude is costing us. The latest serious argument to be vice at least. Cheers, guys. Tabang says, how do you expect players to be confident with a captain like Bruno? Jahid Mia says, give Kev's mic to Ineos to save them from buying one. Barima says he yelled at Dalot and Dalot yelled back at him. This is where the manager has to be getting involved and telling Dalot it's just not acceptable, not putting the cross in at that point. Jason Devonish says, we definitely become harder to watch when Casemiro and Eriksen come on. Our entire midfield slows down and our transition play falls apart. Just quickly...
Casemiro started.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But, I mean, they're obviously not the future. We're very lightweight at the moment.
Yeah.
Ogati's injured. Collier was just coming back from injury, so he kind of was forced into that. Casemiro is another subject we're going to touch on, but just on the Dalot one where he said he yelled at Dalot and Dalot yelled back at him. Obviously, Højlund, like we were speaking about on the build-up show, he doesn't have the CV to demand that respect. Do you remember when Ronaldo was playing for United and Dalot just literally looks for him every single time, obviously, because he demands that respect and he's Cristiano Ronaldo. I get that. But this is why United need a more experienced striker who is going to demand that respect. And I tell you what, if it was Osimhen, And he was shouting at Dalot. Do you think Dalot would back at him? Would he? Heck. Yeah. He would be crossing it in first time that time. The fact of the matter is, unfortunately, 22 years old, and with the season he's had, the other players, it might not be intentional, but they don't respect Højlund enough to do that, and it's not right. He should have put the cross in, but that's the way. That's what I saw from that.
I think it could be intentional. We all saw in Fergie's last year what the team did to get Van Persie goals. It was not an accidental thing. It wasn't a coincidence. Fergie, loads of ex-players have come out and said this. Fergie said to them in the dressing room, if you don't pass the ball to Robin Van Persie, we will not win the league. So what did they all do?
I'll bench you as well.
Exactly. He said, I'll bench you. You will not win the league.
He said, I'll bench you to Scholes and Rooney.
Exactly. Two of the best players we've ever seen in this league. That's what did they do? They passed the ball to the striker. Why? Because not only the players, but the manager instills some kind of confidence, a heavy amount of confidence into the players to work through or to play towards our striker because of how good he was. There is no way, I genuinely don't think there's no way Amorim's saying the same thing about Højlund, which is, in my opinion, that's an intentional thing. Yeah. If you're not saying to our players, give the ball to the striker, he's going to score, why do you think they're going to do it? They're not going to do it, you know what I'm saying? So it's not, in my opinion, it's not a coincidence, it's intentional. Like, no one's given the striker, or no one's given Højlund or given other players the confidence to actually play to Højlund's strengths, whatever his strengths are, but to play towards Højlund to get him to score goals, which is why they're still doing it.
Confidence-wise, he's rock bottom, Højlund. Absolutely, you know, at the bottom of a pit.
Yeah.
And you don't see where it comes from. One thing I would say is, I mean, you mentioned somebody like Van Persie, you mentioned any top striker, and the one thing they have is a certain arrogance, don't they? And even you look at a Ruud van Nistelrooy at United, you know, even if United won 2 or 3-0, if he didn't score in that game, he's seen that, you know. He said the same about Henry at the time. It's just, these top players are drilled in. It does come to confidence. I think he's at the lowest he could be, but at the same time, I keep watching him and I just want this bit of bite or something about him, and I don't get it. Is it a personality thing? But I can't believe for 1 minute that Dalot looked today. I'm sure there'll be some conspiracy theories that are like, you know, probably looked at him and thought, I'm not going to give him the ball, what's the point kind of thing. I'm sure you'll see that, but
it's instinctive though.
Yeah, well, it does come to that as well.
Well, look, we have to look towards the summer, and we have to look towards the rebuild, because Amorim needs investment. We know that, and in order for investment, we are going to have to sell players. And unfortunately, you know, you are going to have to look at the players that are the most profitable. Yeah. Obviously, you know, there's players that need to go, but there's players, because of what their book value is, are going to be harder to move on than others. Dalot's one that's profitable, that isn't performing right now, is one that you're going to have to look at, and the manager will be looking at as well. And then another one, which you brought up before, Kev, is Alejandro Garnacho. Obviously a very good assist to Joshua Zirkzee tonight, but there's so many other occasions where the decision making isn't right. And then when you see him shaking his head when he's coming off, how does that make you feel, considering nobody's been performing, but he definitely hasn't been performing to the heights that we need? How does that look to you? I
was going to say, I would hope when he come off the pitch, and I know I'm totally wrong with this one, but in my heart as a United fan, I'm looking at him, and I said to you at that time, didn't I, when he's shaking his head, here we go, you know, didn't seem long ago that he went down the tunnel, you know, didn't go to the bench. Apparently that was all cleared up because he said, I went to change my shirt. But Amorim come out after it and said he'll buy the whole team dinner. So that is, he has been sort of disciplined for that. When I see him coming off today, I think it's not a great look. And I said to you at the time, who does he think he is? You know, he's not Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, he's still a young kid. He's trying to find his way in this game. I would hope, if anything, if he was asked as to his reaction for coming off shaking his head, that he'd actually say, because I didn't play well. I didn't think he played well. So I would look at that and think, well, you know, he should be shaking his head really, thinking, I'm more disappointed with my performance on that field. But I know deep down, I know this character, and I know for a fact he's made it all about him. The cameras, everything, the media, that'll be a story tomorrow now. Forget United going, you know, to Spain, getting a 1-1 draw. It will all be about Garnacho, but he's not even in that lane yet where you can discuss the Ronaldo kind of hype, because Ronaldo did it on the pitch. Garnacho isn't doing it at the minute, so I don't know where he can get up on his high horse and take this kind of stance at this minute.
Yeah, I feel his own self-worth is way higher than what value he's adding to the team. And his body language and attitude of him walking off, shaking his head, especially following on, like you said, from the tunnel, he should have the complete opposite mentality. He should be running off, high-fiving the player coming on and encouraging him to try and go on and get the winner, because it's not like he didn't have shots. He had opportunities to hit target and didn't hit the target. So if anything, he should be disappointed in his own performance. I really don't think he played that well today. For some reason, he seems to have been gassed up through the amount of starts we were talking in the build-up show in other seasons. And like I said, his own self-worth, he feels he's more important to the team than he should be at the age that he is. And yeah, he has scored goals, he has made assists, but to the level that he thinks, probably not.
He's not daft as well. He knows what he's doing. How many times has he got on like X after a game and like to a certain tweet? He's very divisive, and you know he's trying to get his message across without actually putting it out there himself. Where you know how many people, journalists, are looking at that kind of thing. And again, this will be a story tomorrow when it shouldn't be. It should be about Man United, not an individual player like that.
Look, we're 14th in the league. Nobody should have an ego right now, and that's a fact. Nobody's contributing enough to Manchester United, bar, you could argue, Ahmad, and some would say numbers-wise potentially Bruno, but I know there's a lot of criticism of him tonight, which we will move on to. But lastly, Mords, on that, on Garnacho, how long can you use, oh, he's 20, oh, he's going to learn? Like, genuinely looking to the future in this Amorim system, do you see a future for him, or is he one where you think we should cash in where the value is high? Because I'm just looking at his attributes and where is his future in the team?
First of all, I don't think we can keep using that 20-year-old. I've stopped using that a while ago now, because he's played like almost 150 games for United. Like we're moving like he just came this season or something. I know he came Garnacho was the exact same player that he was when he first came into the first team. So how many more games do you think it's going to take for him to improve when he's clearly not improved in the last 100 games? I genuinely don't think he's changed since when he was playing with Ronaldo. I don't think he's a different player. He's the exact same player, he's just a couple of years older. So the whole age thing it's only relevant if you can see a player progressing each year in, year out. If he's not progressing year in, year out, then what we're going to hope that he's just great by 23. It's irrelevant. So what was the second thing you asked me?
I've just said, where is his future in the Amorim team?
His future in the Amorim team. I mean, I said it on the build-up show, I don't think he was ever supposed to be a starter anyway. Like, let's just be real. His development should have been coming off the bench and learning from the players in front of him. It is unfortunate the players in front of him were also not performing well, so there wasn't really a lot to learn from. But that's where Garnacho should be at that's the point where Garnacho should be in his career. He should be playing for a team, whether it's United or another team, he should be playing for a team where he's coming off the bench and he's learning from the people in front of him who are more experienced. We don't have that right now. So in my opinion, it actually would be better for Garnacho to go to another team where there are better players in his position, because he's going to learn so much and there's not going to be as much pressure for him to start every single game. Like I said, the reality is for us, we just don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of having better players in front of him, and also the luxury of him not being able to start because of the lack of players that we have in his position.
I think the concern in January when he was linked with a move away was, oh, well, we're only going to get 50, 60 million for a player that one day could be worth 100 million. Well, that's the risk that you take, but you structure the deal in a way that it comes back to benefit the club if that was to happen. Because the flip side of it is something that Beth mentioned earlier, is that if he doesn't get into the team and doesn't start playing games, his value's only going to drop. Yeah. So you've got to balance, when do you sell him? I feel like at the moment, his stock is still relatively high in Europe, and there are teams that are interested in him, and we could get decent money for him.
I was going to say, this might seem like a silly question, but I'll throw it to you. Would you have took that 50 million for Garnacho
right now,
at that time?
No, at the time.
In January? I mean, it's not
at the time, I was saying no. I was saying let's try and at least get 60 million plus whatever. But now that I'm looking at it now, I'll be honest, I got it wrong. We should have taken that.
But that's the thing, if Chelsea were interested in him at the time, if he'd have been playing in the Conference League, let's just say whatever this evening for Chelsea, and he put in that performance and we'd seen that highlight reel, we'd probably be looking thinking, they've just bought him for 50 million, you know, we've dodged one there. But I know that he's got time to develop, Garnacho. Can he develop as a number 10 in this system?
Do you know what it is we should have been in a position where we could have taken the money, but we weren't, because Anthony and Rashford are both gone. Yeah. We were too lightweight, we had to have options. And looking back, obviously it's a good thing we did, even though like technically we should have cashed in for that money, it's a good thing we did keep him, because if we didn't, we would literally have nobody, because Ahmad got injured. It's the club's fault because we've not reinvested this money and got and got more players in. That's why we should have been in a position where we already had somebody else in and we could have cashed in and we had a replacement lined up, but we didn't. So we had to keep him for that reason and assess in the summer. I do think in the summer he's still going to have value. I think Napoli will come back in. I think Chelsea will come back. I honestly do. And that's where United need to make a decision. And currently, I think we do have to cash in. And it's not because I think he's a complete write-off, because I don't. I think as a wide winger, he has got potential and he can, do something with the rest of his career and probably flourish. But as a 10, he's not going to work as an inside forward, and he's never going to be a wing back. So if we're sticking with Amorim, you've got to cash in. You really do.
Yeah, I think again it falls into the low bracket, doesn't it? Where a change of system, there's going to be casualties, and Garnacho sort of falls into that bracket where he can't nail down a position in this new formation. And you've got to kind of look at it and go, well, if we can get money for Garnacho and bring someone in that can play the number 10 better and more consistent, because Eriksen isn't the answer going forward. Same with Dalot. There are going to be casualties this summer, and it's up to the manager to analyse it and go, right, well, we can afford to sacrifice these. But the most important thing, I think, is that if players go out and we generate money, the manager is given that money to reinvest into the squad.
Of course.
And the concern was in January, it's a tough time to do business. It got later and later into the transfer window.
Would we have panic bought?
Yeah, we wouldn't have brought anyone in.
The thing is the last thing is, if we weren't in this predicament financially, and this is sad where we're at, I would keep him as an impact sub, because I think as an impact sub,
100%.
he can deliver.
But his ego doesn't want to be in.
No, yeah, that's true. But if the money's there for 50 and we're financially up against it and we need to bring in a player that actually can start and play well in this system, you've got to take it.
Yeah,
That's what it
and
is.
when you bring a player on like that, I think we were all singing from the same hymn sheet, saying about Garnacho. You've said it before, Ricky said it before, we've all said it before, the fact that Garnacho is better as an impact player. And I can't imagine that anyone out there, a United fan watching this, would have thought that if that penalty goes in at 1-1, what a great player to have to come off the bench at that time. You know, when you're looking to go and try and get that lead back. But the game's totally different. It's
we
stretched.
missed his impact coming off for the bench, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's like, it made you think, should have Eriksen.
It does give you a huge lift, but at the same time, when you start him in a game like that, where you know they're going to have a load of possession, it's going to be a bit hostile and that, that edge isn't there. But if you bring him on with half an hour left, absolutely no issue with it. He could be a game changer.
I agree with that. I do agree with that we missed having someone off the bench with that pace to make that impact. But we've got to remember, he had chances in this game. He hit the side netting like 3 times. That's on him as a player. And this is the thing, is that if we don't have the luxury to have somebody of the value of 50, 60 million and just call them an impact sub.
Yeah.
We're not in that position. We need our 50, 60 million pound players on the pitch delivering from the start.
You only have to look at Amorim's response to that when he hit the side netting. It wasn't once, it was almost a carbon copy.
Yep.
There's one where, if you break it down, he's got time to take a touch, and Højlund is stood in the middle, unmarked, for a tap-in. And I know it's easy to say that when you watch it back now, but you talk about football IQ and players that are switched on in that area, the best players would have made that decision, and Mo Salah would have trapped that ball, got his head up, looked. Garnacho, yes, he's young, he's raw, he's nowhere near the finished article, but even at that age now, like Mordzs says, you can't keep saying he's that age. There are players in the Premier League throughout world football that are doing it, making the right decisions at the same age as Garnacho. So it doesn't really, it's not an argument anymore. The same way we said last week on the fan forum that for Højlund, this service argument, it's not there anymore. You have to stop making excuses for him.
If you're good enough, you're old enough. Get your comments in the chat, get your thoughts in. Anthony Tracy says Bruno, Mainu, Ghana don't work in this system. Leo says opinions on Ghana baffle me, support him. Howder88 says, do any of you have You'll Never Walk Alone on your Spotify list? If not, no pressure. I think that's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, imposter. Get out.
Yeah, I don't know why you're here, mate, honestly. Sean Turner says, thanks for giving us a view, though. Sean and a super chat. Sean Turner says, people make me laugh. Bruno is the only player that does anything for us going forward. We would literally be going down without him, and Højlund is literally one of the worst strikers we've had for 72 million. Jesus. Majra Wiwa, thank you for the super chat there as well. And Martin Saunders says, Dalot needs to go, not good enough. Well, let's talk about Bruno Fernandes. I know Goldbridge was saying, he's not a good enough captain on his on his final score. It's not a flippant remark. He's been thinking that for a few weeks now, despite the fact he has been delivering in terms of goals and assists, and he's pulled out of a few holes in games. But today, I mean, you're looking at the goal they conceded, and he was, moaning off to the ref for a yellow card. It was actually originally a Nana's distribution to nobody, because nobody's making themselves available, that then goes out for the corner. I think the handball is really unlucky. I don't know how else you're supposed to jump, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But a lot of people talking about Bruno's captaincy, maybe because heads dropped when the penalty went in and United were dominant, and then it kind of changed the pace of the game, and maybe the captain should keep you up for that. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on the Bruno debate? We had a bit of it on the build-up show, but everyone knows where I stand on it. But Mordzs, Kev, Jordan?
I mean, my opinion actually hasn't changed, because this game isn't any different to what we've seen from Bruno anyway. And that's kind of what is, I think Jordan may probably use the best word, it's frustrating. Because like with Bruno, it's like, because we know how good he is, because we know what he can do, and we know the impact that he can have in his team. When he has games like this, where he's not as impactful, he is a bit more wasteful, and he's not kind of doing what we need him to do. It's just like, come on, we actually need you. And maybe part of the problem is the fact that we don't have other players that Bruno can rely on. Maybe that's part of the problem, because let's be honest, in other teams, let's say, I don't know, let's look at Liverpool, top of the league. If Salah ain't having the best game, I mean, last game, Salah wasn't having the best game, and he still won the game. Harvey Elliott came in and scored. Another player like Szoboszlai can go and score, or Luis Diaz can go and score, or somebody else can create a chance. Gravenberch can do something. Because there's other players in the team that can also put in good performances week in, week out. The best player doesn't always necessarily feel the pressure to do everything themselves. Whereas I feel like in United right now anyway, there is a bit of pressure, not a little bit, there's a lot of pressure on Bruno to kind of do something. Like, Bruno, be our best player, be the best player week in, week out, because the other players aren't as good. And I feel like that actually, it lowers Bruno's game a little bit, because now it's like we see him forcing a bit more, we see him trying to do a bit too much. Whereas when he kind of just steps back and he simplifies his game a bit, then we actually see a better Bruno, a more disciplined Bruno, and a Bruno of a higher quality. So, yeah, but today
that's
was
why I want to see a more disciplined Bruno. The petulance will drive you crazy, and I don't know how you knock that out of a player. Obviously, it would come from the manager, but I've always said it about Bruno. He's just one of them players that I always say he's a bit of a knobhead, but he's our knobhead. 100%. Like Gary Neville was for Manchester United. Rival fans absolutely despise him, don't they? I talk to City fans, Liverpool fans, all say the same about Bruno. What a shithouse he is, whatever. And I think it's just part and parcel. I don't see how you get that out of his game. I mean, even the booking this evening, that later on in the competition, whatever, could prove to be costly. When that's your captain setting the tone for this team, you've got young players in this team, they're supposed to be looking up to him. It's not a great look.
Do you think Bruno has to overcompensate in terms of maybe his body language on the pitch sometimes? People might get frustrated at how animated he can be. Do you think he has to overcompensate because the team is lacking leaders and passion?
He's not doing anything now that he wasn't doing before he was made captain. I think he was. It's not like he suddenly got the armband and he's more petulant now than he was. He was like that anyway. I actually was thinking about it during the game. What Bruno could benefit from more than anything else, and I don't know if anyone else has mentioned this, is actually some real competition for his place. So that he has to knuckle down and be that little bit more disciplined, make the right decisions, and stay on the pitch and not pick up these silly yellow cards and whatnot. I think the armband, the one thing we've seen from Harry Maguire was that he was under massive pressure with the armband, and as soon as we took it off him, it was like a release and a relief for him, and he was able to just concentrate on playing his game. But like I said, the difference is with Bruno, I don't think he's doing anything different to what he did before he had the band. But it's what you want from your manager, from your captain. Like, for me, he's not the type of captain that I would want, that I would look at and be like, you're somebody that inspires me to do more. I said earlier, I want someone like a De Ligt.
I was going to ask who would be your captain.
I want someone like a De Ligt that is willing to run through walls, put his body on the line. That's just me.
You don't think Bruno's willing to do that?
Yeah, he is.
In a different kind of way. You're not going to get the the petulance from a De Ligt. You're not gonna. His head's not gonna drop in the same way where Bruno's does, and the play acting and whatnot. That's just for me. That's just like captains that I've grown up on watching that inspire me. Where I just look at Bruno and he's not somebody that I look at. Given where we are as a team, I can't just see him, like he will try and do it for himself and try and win a game for himself, which is why sometimes I feel he makes the Hollywood passes and the shots and whatnot, because he's frustrated in himself and he wants to try and do it himself. But is that getting the best out of other people around you? I don't think it is.
I mean, who would your captain be, Mordzs?
If everyone's fit.
Yeah, like, who would you? Would it
I
still
think
be
Martinez
Bruno?
could be a good captain.
Would it still be Bruno though? Would you pick him as your captain?
I'll be honest. I feel like the Bruno captain thing's a bit harsh. I genuinely feel like people are they're trying to find a reason why Bruno isn't being that good, and I feel like him being captain isn't it. I don't think him being captain and not being captain, like you said before, would make a difference to his game.
Yeah,
I don't think it would be.
You're going to create an issue, aren't you? Imagine you strip Bruno of the captaincy. I know Harry Maguire didn't take it well, but like Jordan says, he knuckled down. Take it off Bruno, by God, the toys and everything are getting launched out the pram.
I don't. Me personally, I don't think that's. And to be fair, I feel like a lot of the players, even though we might not see it, but whenever I hear players talk about Bruno, they always talk very, very highly of him, like very highly of him. And they don't say it, like the way people act is like the players, like they all complain because Bruno complains. The players speak about Bruno like he is a captain. They say, I've even heard players that have left speak very highly of Bruno. Like he is somebody who the younger players look up to, the more experienced players respect because of how good he is and what he's done for the club so far in this time that he's been here. So I feel like I would say there are other players in the team that are also leaders. Like I said, Martinez I think would be a good leader. Like I said, De Ligt would also.
Not fit enough.
Yeah, obviously fitness-wise. Other than being able to play every single week, him and like De Ligt as well, I think they'll also be good leaders. But there's not a lot. There really isn't like a lot of players in the team that are of that caliber to be a captain in this team. So that's another big problem we have anyway.
That's another thing when Maguire did that interview like a week ago or so, and it was no disrespect to Maguire, but when he spoke about the leadership team being him, Bruno, Tom Heaton and Johnny Evans, it's just not good enough for a team of Manchester United, because who actually plays out of them? Like Tom Heaton doesn't play, Johnny Evans doesn't play anymore. It's Bruno and Maguire that play. Yeah. And that's it. In 11, you need 11 leaders on the pitch, and that's what we had, in the most successful Manchester United teams. I mean, just the question to you as well, Kev, who would your captain be? Would it still be Bruno, or would you pick somebody else? If
I was a manager, I think I'd go with De Ligt. I think he's proved fitness-wise, obviously.
Already, though?
Well, he's captained Ajax, hasn't he? At what, 18?
He's 18. He's like 25 now.
I think he is a leader.
He's won league titles everywhere.
I think he leads the team in a different way, let's say. I think he sets a great example. He's a bit of a warrior. If I'm looking at that, listen, if it was my decision, I'm not for 1 minute suggesting, this evening strip the captaincy off Bruno and give it to De Ligt. But if that was my choice, I think he would be a really, really good choice. I think very, very experienced player as well. I think youngsters would look up to him. And when you've got a captain that's in a back three, people always say that keepers make great captains sometimes because they're in the best place to stand in a goal and see everything that's going on. If you've got somebody that's vocal, if you've got somebody that is that bit further back, we all know Bruno gets petulant, he gets emotional and all this and that. But yeah, I think, and I agree on Martinez as well, but I think De Ligt would be my choice. Well, it can clearly deal with the media pressure of being a player for Manchester United, because he's had a lot of criticism in the media, a lot would say unfairly and under false, under kind of false accusations from people in the media that then carry weight, and people just kind of latch onto it and jump onto the bandwagon when he's been a rock since coming to United. Okay, yeah, he's had some bad games. Everybody has, and this team is so tumultuous you're going to. But again tonight, I think it's hard to find positives with United at the minute. It really is. But I think a positive that you can take out of tonight is Mazraoui, Lenny Yoro and De Ligt. Like, even when he slipped over in that block he made. Yeah. Like, he's even when he spoke in the press conference and he says, obviously the pressure is a lot from the media, but it's nothing I've not experienced before. I've played for other top clubs. I'm used to it. He's brushed it off. Yeah, I love that. He has that confidence and belief in himself. And he's been highly criticised for playing for the Dutch national team as well, and sort of taking it under his belt, and he's continuing to perform. So
I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that, the three centre-backs? Because I do think Lenny Yoro is another kind of one of the positives you can take out of the last few games. Him, Joshua Zirkzee as well. Like, there is some positives, guys, because we keep talking about the negatives, but there is some positives there, maybe.
There is, because I think defensively tonight we look good. You know, we've only conceded a goal from a dodgy penalty, shall we say? Because I do think it's dodgy, and I think even if we, you know, won that penalty tonight, I'd be thinking, we've got away with one there or whatever. But the back three, I mean, I still think we massively miss Martinez. I know there's some people that don't understand what he brings. He's too small and all this. You know what I mean? It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. That's what I would say with Martinez. And I do think we've missed him massively, because the way that Amorim wants to play, everybody looks at this back three as being dead negative, and it's, you're setting up against Fulham at home with 5 at the back. You know, it's however you want to interpret it. We keep saying it's a system, and I do think that Martinez is very pivotal to the way that he wants to play. I said this the other week. When you see Lisandro Martinez score away at Anfield, you know, I said at the time, what is he doing up there? But it's obviously an instruction. He's the one at the back that can get up and down the field. He can play a pass. He's got a goal in him. He showed that at Fulham as well, you know, when he pulls out an absolute rocket of a shot. And it's these little tweaks of the team that now Amorim, I believe, has been kind of robbed of. Ahmad, another shining light in this team, but I do believe that Martinez, for the balance at the back, whether you're going to play Yoro, De Ligt, Maguire, whoever it is, Martinez is one of them players that will know how to, you know, play this system. And he can get further forward, bring the ball through midfield. That's what it's all about.
I'm going to be honest, I think trying to have faith in Martinez is a lost cause, and people will get on to me for
concern.
that. But he's not.
Are we putting him in the Luke Shaw and Mason Mount?
No, he's not in that category.
Injury-wise.
He's not completely written off, because Mason Mount and Luke Shaw, I don't think they can come back in the United careers. I don't.
Okay.
I don't. Even though I think when they're fit, the quality players, I just don't. I just don't see how they can ever be a consistent player for United. So I think they have to go. Martinez, I'm not at the point where he has to go, but I think he's had too many long-term injuries at this point in his career, and I think the way he plays doesn't help him either.
It depends how he comes back from this.
He's very rash, and the way he lands, he's going to get injuries in the future. That's my interpretation. I hope I'm wrong, because I think I agree with what you're saying. I think in this system, he was really starting to thrive. I think he's a leader, and I think he's a quality player. But I just don't see him staying fit consistently, and we've got to have players that stay fit.
Well, one thing I will say about our centre backs is, obviously, usually in like a back four, you have like a partnership, and usually you want to have the same partnership every game, because you want to have that rock, that, you know, Van Dijk, Konate, or Saliba, Gabriel, those two centre backs where it's like, these are the two centre backs that's going to play near enough every single game, or every big game anyway, every important game for your club. Whereas with us, because we're playing 3 at the back, there is there's a bit more room to rotate one player, and I think that's what Amorim does a lot. He you see him making subs nearly every single game to a centre back, whether it's Yoro coming on or Mazraoui coming on, or we've seen Aiden Heaven come on.
Jordan, you go without saying goodbye. I was gonna say goodbye.
I started standing up. I was thinking, what's going on?
Like the viewers say goodbye.
Is your mic off? I was about to say thanks. Jordan's got to leave for his train, but.
You give me the arrow.
Oh.
The finger.
Oh. Turn your mic on for a second. You're just going to go and nobody's going to know where you are. Sorry, Mordzs, for cutting
go
you.
on.
Is it on?
Is your mic on? Can everyone hear Jordan?
Is my mic on?
He's back. Jordan got ushered off the set.
For a minute.
Back door exit. Jordan's got to go because he's got a train to catch.
Back to Cardiff.
Sorry, don't want to interrupt you, Mordzs. But last but not least, Mordzs. Last but not least, Jordan.
Yeah.
Will United get through against Sociedad in the next round, and what are your hopes for the rest of the season? Any last words?
Any last words? I actually think that we will bring them back to Old Trafford next week, and I do think we'll win. I do. I've seen enough today that if we can take our chances at home next week, I feel we'll be fine. Like, I know we said it was the battle of the bums before the game, because neither team. You're right.
Yeah.
Neither team were in great form, but I've seen enough today to say that we were the better side, and I think we will be okay next Thursday. I'm worried about Arsenal, though.
We have nothing to play for, though.
Yeah.
I love the positivity. I'm excited to see Cheeto against Arsenal if he gets on the pitch. Let's see. Jordan, thank you very much. Safe journey back.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Always good.
Love to have you. Can't wait to have you back on.
Safe journey, mate.
Mordzs, can you remember what you're talking about?
Certain to do with centre backs, but we can move on.
We can move on. Okay, we'll move on. We'll get a few super chats and I'll come to you on my next question. Park Ji Sung says, be honest, won't be hurt, me or Bruno.
Park Ji-sung had a similar kind of engine than what Bruno's got.
And
that's what, can I just say on the Bruno thing as well, and he gets a right mixed bag, but one thing I will always say, at least he does, and I think when he did get the captaincy, he's not really played in great Manchester United teams.
No.
The players that surround him. So in his defence, I would say at least he probably got the captaincy at a time where we were questioning a lot of these players. What I would say is at least he looks like he gives a shit about Manchester United, which is a big thing. You know, when we've questioned so many of these players and looked at him and gone, his heart's not in it, you know, he wants to move, he's just here picking up 300 grand a week, he's not bothered about this club. So at least he does go out there on the pitch, and call him erratic, call him petulant, whatever. I'll defend him slightly because, yeah, exactly. Plays for the badge. I like that.
Go on, Kev.
Yes.
Stephen Bannon says, does Bruno get into any Fergie teams? Poor decisions, poor captain. Gary Carr says, can't change the captain's armband this season, but if Amorim could, give it to Casemiro. He has 5 Champions Leagues and he's a proper winner. That's the worst take I've seen so far.
But that's that argument.
Casemiro's literally leaving the club, and the club have wanted him to go for the last 2 years, but he's seeing out his 350 grand a week contract.
Yeah, of course he is.
He's only being played because Amorim's desperate. And to be fair, I think he did all right tonight, and he did all right the last few games he's played. But it's as much as I respect his career, it's not time to be giving Casemiro the captain's hand now. Neeloy Ray says, when this pain ends, we have to go for Luis Enrique. Doing a fantastic job with PSG. Nikosi Zamisa says, we tried Pep light Erik ten Hag and Haaland light Højlund. Hambakaya says, Dallo should be in jail. Wow. Okay, that's a bit harsh. That is a bit harsh on that one. But you know what? Thank you everyone for getting your super chats in and keep getting your chats in the comments and hit a like on the video. Moving on, in the return leg, Mords, we will have Ugarte back and hopefully Collier will be fully fit then. Do you think that'll make a difference? And what did you make of Casemiro stepping in tonight?
Will it make a difference? Well, they're going to have Zubimendi back, so we're going to need a difference anyway because their team's going to be a lot better. And I said on the build-up show as well that if there was going to be a player that we would need to have to play against a player like Zubimendi, it would be Ugarte. He will be back. So I feel like that's going to be a good matchup. I'm interested to see how that kind of works because if we know whether Ugarte is more like a man marker in that game or if he's kind of free roaming a little bit, kind of following where Zubimendi goes, or we kind of play very compact. Is he going to start Eriksen? Is he going to start Casemiro again? Is Bruno going to play further forward? I don't know what Amorim's going to do because we never know what he's going to do. But I feel like the midfield, we just need. Were
you fearful when you heard the team today? Because I think we all knew deep down Ugarte was going to be a huge miss. I thought that straight away. I thought, by God, we need him in that midfield. I think we all knew it was going to be Bruno and Casemiro. Yeah. Obviously, when you heard the team news, were you like?
As expected.
It wasn't a shock, was it? But it's such.
Look at our bench. Like there was nothing else. To be fair, obviously he's not great, but I think Casemiro has actually done all right in the times that Amorim's had to bring him in, considering the circumstances. It's nowhere near good enough going forward, and neither's many people in our team, to be quite honest with you. But it's not as bad as he was at the start of the season. Yeah. Like the Anfield at Old Trafford and stuff. It's not as bad. Like he does still read the game quite well. He put a few really good passes in him behind. Yeah, he's still got some class left in him, but he suited a game like this more than an intense end-to-end game. He still got bypassed a lot in that midfield, but he can read the game and he gives you a little bit of defensive security. He gives you a bit of height in there. I'm clutching at straws. Like the standards are low, but he filled in a gap.
I just think we need a bit of energy in that midfield. There was so many times where they were just literally running through our team, like as in literally one player running through about 3, 4, 5 players.
We missed Ugarte badly.
We missed Ugarte. Even someone like Collier, I know he came on later in the game, but he is someone that actually brings a bit more energy into the team. And the next game, one thing about playing in midfield is you're probably doing the most running, maybe other than the wing backs because they're constantly up and down, but the midfield, you're constantly doing running, you're all over the place. When you don't have anyone to bring on, it makes it so much more difficult because it's more tiring, and later on in the game it gets even more more fatigued. If we just had 2 subs who had played regular games and they weren't just coming back from injury like Collier, then we probably would have a better chance in this game today. But next week we are going to have a couple more subs, so I think we will be a lot better.
But I think this game kind of played into Casemiro's hands a bit. I think anyone who brings the game to you at all is going to get found out once again, and it's not something we should be doing. We shouldn't have to play him. Amorim made it quite clear he didn't fancy him, but he's being forced into it because we have no other options. Ugati's massive. I think we need to go for another midfielder, another 6. How many priorities have we got? But I think Sociedad kind of didn't maybe go out as much as they could have done tonight. But all in all, you can only play what's in front of you, and I think it was okay-ish.
I think that it's testament to United though as well. I think defensively, when you looked at it at half time, you know, I can't remember Onana doing much really. You know, he's
got to claim the ball a lot.
No, that was it. Yeah. I mean, when you talk about saves, and
he did have that one good save though in the second half.
In the second half, I'm just saying at half time, you kind of look at it and you think that would have all been part of the plan, wasn't it? Amorim's not going to be naive to think, you know, he knows that a lot of these players they're either not up for playing the system or not good enough for it. So you've got a horrible kind of mix of trying to get an idea over some players that are probably thinking, I'm out of here in the summer, I don't even need to listen to this. But they do kind of turn up for these games, don't they? Yeah. We've seen it this season, the Emirates, the FA Cup, Manchester City, Liverpool away, you know, and they've gone away this evening. I think the whole thing of looking at it really is, before this game, would you have took a 1-1 draw? And, you know, it's a decent result.
The goal scorer, Joshua Zirkzee, is, along with, I think, Lenny Yora, who's becoming a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident, and I think he's developing, which is nice to see. I think Joshua Zirkzee is another highlight. Got the goal today. Okay, yeah, the keeper probably should have done better. But do you think that was a reward, Mordzs, from like his recent performances? Like, are you liking him in that 10 role?
Definitely like him a lot more in a 10 than as a striker. I think it suits his game. He's not having to run forward as much. You know, when he was playing striker, he's always going to drop in deep. He's always going to do that. That's just his style of play. He's going to drop in deep, come get the ball and try and link up play. But it's now him trying to get back into that goal scoring position, which was a problem. And I think the fact that, you know, even his goal today, it was from the edge of the box. He didn't have to be that player who was right in the middle of the penalty area, trying to get in a header or trying to get in a tap in. He can actually, in that 10 position, link up some play and then come to the edge of the box and then get a shot like that off. I mean, I don't know if you or it was Jordan that was saying how like Zirkzee's shot is like the most timid shot ever. Like, I
said if that was the other way around and Onana, if that was against us, we would be going absolutely mad about Onana, because it isn't great goalkeeping, but he's kept it low, kept it hard. It's on target. You know, so Garnacho could take a few lessons off him.
Maybe, but I think we've got to give him some credit, because in my opinion, he's probably been one of our best players today. And the past few games, he's also been one of our top players, so you've got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, what are your thoughts on it?
I still think he's incredibly... I really can't work out Zirkzee. I've said it before, and I do think we kind of judge him against Højlund, which is not a great comparison, because Højlund's been pretty much non-existent. So I think... I'm not going to say he's an average player. I just think he does certain things, and I think because we're that low, the standards at United, we do look at this player in this position and go, wow, he controlled the ball, he held it up, he passed it out wide, and I do think it's basic what he's doing. I'm not saying he's not a great footballer, but I do think we've been starved, especially in them number 10 positions at this moment in time in this system. That's the only place that he can kind of play. You know, it isn't Amorim's player, but he is kind of standing out. But I think that's because if you look at the other number 10 today, Garnacho, don't think he's had a great game. So again, when you weigh him up against Garnacho, you're not going to say he's head and shoulders above Garnacho this evening, but he was definitely a lot better. And he's took his goal, he scored a goal, he's played well. I just, more for the long term, I don't see where he fits in, if I'm being totally honest. But fair play to him, like I say, he's doing basic things, and I do think we are kind of applauding it and getting, you know, and for the sake of playing a ball out left and right and, you know, bringing the ball down. But there was a lovely touch for, was it Dorgu he played him? Like a Berbatov-esque kind of back heel. Was it Dorgu that was on the overlap?
Probably. I think he's the only one overlapping.
And he is capable of doing these Berbatov-esque kind of things, you know. He had a similar thing where you kind of looked at him and you were like, is he interested in playing? Kanu was another, you know, he just come across as somebody, you know, lethargic and stuff, but yeah, they can just produce these moments of brilliance where you go, wow, But yeah, listen, I might be wrong, but I don't think he's a world beater by any means. No.
I want to talk about the man of the match before we talk a little bit about Arsenal and Sociedad next week, because I've got something I want to say on that. And we have a few people bringing us back down to earth in the chat. Chris says, not worried about the second leg. Have you seen our home form? Yeah, our film.
Do you know, that's the thing that I was saying? If we had some kind of where Old Trafford was a fortress and we'd not lost a game for like 18 months, we'd be like now going, we are, in this, we've got one foot in the door, but because teams love coming to play at Old Trafford.
Best place to play.
Even Sociedad will be thinking, everybody rocks up at Old Trafford and wins there. We're going there and winning. That's the kind of thing where you look and think, it's a bit
People
nervy.
think, we can bring it back to Old Trafford. I mean, Fulham came to Old Trafford for a cup tie and they ended up winning. So it's definitely, it's going to be a tough game.
And the fact that it could run to extra time and penalties. Oh, don't get me started, man.
Well, before I go into that, man of the match. Mordzs?
Man of the match. Wow. I'll give it Xerxes.
Kev?
I'm going to go with De Ligt.
Yeah.
I think I went De Ligt last week, actually. I don't want this to be a running theme. I would take my hat off and say, again, just another... And there was an instance when that ball went across the box. I can't remember whether it was at 1-1, where he fell and still managed to get that touch. And I thought, wow, very nice. I like that.
It's a magic moment, that.
Yeah.
It is.
There you go, rolled into one, man of the match and magic moment.
Man of the match should be Mazraoui, De Ligt and Yoro all combined. I think they're doing quite well. The only part of the team that really is, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Xerxes was a good shout as well. I thought he did all right. But
yeah,
I'm just looking at all the other results from tonight's games, if you want to know. So 1-1 between Sociedad and United, 3-1 to Lyon against FCSB, so they've got the upper hand in that draw, and they've got the return fixture at their home as well, so it looks like they'll probably be going through. Rangers beating Fenerbahce 3-1. Alkmaar beating Spurs 1-0. Told you not to underestimate them lot. Lazio currently against Pulsen, winning 1-0. That's only 52 minutes in. Bodo Glimt beating Olympiacos 2-0, 53 minutes in. Athletic Club, 53 minutes in, are already beating Roma 1-0, and it's 1-1 between Frankfurt and Ajax, 51 minutes in as well. So a lot of games to keep your eyes on there. But going into Arsenal at the weekend, if you're Ruben Amorim, do you take that plunge and play some of the kids? Because we are thin on the ground with players. We need Ugarte back. We need to keep Collier fit. There's certain players in this team. Dorgu took a little knock earlier on today, and maybe that affected his game because I think he was definitely better before he got that knock. There's players that we need to keep fit. Xerxes looked dead on his feet. It is all or nothing in the Europa League. We have to win against Sociedad or else our season is over. A week today, our season could be over. It could be. We have to win. Premier League, we're not going to get relegated, and we're definitely not going to get Europe. So realistically, Arsenal kind of is dead rubber. Of course, you want to beat them at Old Trafford, but all of our focus needs to be on that Sociedad game. Do you think Amorim will think that way, or do you think it's going to be that one game at a time?
It's kind of a dead rubber for them, innit? I know they're still chasing. I'm not saying that they're...
season's done as well.
Yeah.
They're playing for Champions League, and even that's done. I don't think they're going to win that.
No, I mean as a Premier League Premier League title
season,
charge.
It's done for everyone, I'll be honest. Unless you're competing for Europe, it's pretty much done for everybody else.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, for that Arsenal game, you can't underestimate how important momentum is as well. Because if we do get a result against Arsenal and it is a good result, that's gonna give a lot of confidence, a lot of
life.
Works
both ways. Injury, and then you go, what do you play him for?
Yeah, you are right. I think what Amorim would do anyway is he will start it off with a good team. If it goes absolutely left and we start getting beat 2-3-0 by half time, take them all off. Take everyone off and put on whoever else is on the bench. But I think if he does play, his strongest team for the start of the game, and we actually seem like we're in the game, and it's looking like a good game, I think he'll keep it going and he'll try and actually get a result. Because, like I said, momentum can be super important for us, especially we're playing at home. That's 2 games at home in a row. If we win at home and Old Trafford's bouncing and the energy in the stadium's lively, it could be the same thing on Thursday next week. So you kind of got to think of it like that as well.
That's an interesting thing to bring up. Would you play Cheeto up front, considering Højlund has played a lot of minutes? Cheeto can't play in the Europa League tie a week today because he's ineligible. Would you start him based off his performance against Fulham, that cameo he had?
Start him against Arsenal? That's crazy.
Would you?
That's a
So we
big,
played for as well.
big pressure. That's starting.
I would.
Beth's made the point. He can't play in the Europa League. I was actually going to say for this Arsenal match, me, if I'm Amorim, I'd kind of do the opposite to what you were saying. I think I would I know certain players in this team don't deserve it, but you have to look at this now. You know, the whole season hinges on this Europa League campaign. The mind boggles to think that and it's a massive if we win the Europa League, we'll be in the Champions League next season, and we could potentially finish 14th, 15th, whatever it's going to be, worst Premier League season ever. Yet that carrot has been dangled. If we can actually win this Europa League, you know, and these games now become everyone. Sociedad, the return leg, cup final, you know, into the next cup final, and through to the final. Then it's going to be monumental. You know, we are kind of. He's going to have to do what Jose Mourinho did that year and put all his eggs, you know, in that basket. Yeah. Different circumstances because it's a manager who's come in, new system, it's not getting through to the players. But they proved this evening, you know, they can stick to a game plan. So I do take certain sort of positives from it.
Get in the comments down below. What would you do? Let us know your thoughts. I mean, last but not least, because the hour is up, will Manchester United get through to the next round? It looks like it's going to be Lyon if we do.
I think we will. I'll tell you why, because I actually have more confidence now than I did before the game, I'll be honest. Because before the game, I looked at Real Sociedad, we all kind of did and thought,
they used to be better than what they were, yeah.
We used to think, this is going to be an impossible game to win. After watching this game now, I'm thinking the amount of chances that we had, the fact that their goal was just a dodgy penalty, I'm thinking, why not?
Gives you confidence.
Like, why not? Why can't we win this game? Like, it's not like they just absolutely dominated us and whatnot. We actually had a good game.
Will have Sublimendi back though.
They will. We'll have Ugarte back, so there you go.
Cancels that threat out. Kev? Yeah, I like that.
You're not getting off lightly. Positive Kev back.
I'm Kev Ashford, yes, Mr. Positivity. Of course United are going through.
Do you think we'll beat Arsenal?
No, I really do think he's going to mix that team up. It's going to be very similar to the game.
It could be a 0-0, mate.
You know, at the end of last season when we played Arsenal, I remember going along to that and just thinking, you know,
falling asleep,
yeah, you had Man City going for the title, so in a way you were kind of going, I don't mind Arsenal beating. It's a horrible situation to be in, but no, it's a it really is a dead rubber, isn't it? Yeah. You know, it's really that's what I'm trying to say.
Ooh, that's a good
Everything's
point
on Europa League.
Good point by Gaz. Start Aiden Heaven and Chido Obi against their old team. They did used to play for Arsenal.
That's what I'm making. Like starting against Arsenal's big. Like it's just a big game for him to start.
Anyway, guys, get in the comments your thoughts. Hit a like on the video if you've not already. Thank you to Jordan, who had to go and catch his train. Thank you to Kev and Mordzs, and thank you to all of you in the chat. Thank you to everyone who put super chats in. Did I miss any there at the end? Let me just double check. No, I think I got them all. So thank you, everyone. Hit a like on the video if you've not already. Tomorrow we'll have Amorim's presser before the Arsenal game. See what he has to say there. And any breaking news, we'll bring it to you on the United Stand. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one.